Hi, welcome back. So the next topic which we are going to talk about is the main commands. So in Terraform, apart from the Terraform configuration file, we do have the Terraform commands to execute those code and those configuration file. We do have a lot of Terraform commands to do like a different task. So I have divided them into two sections called the main commands and the advanced commands. In this section, we are going to talk about the main commands. In the last topic, which we are going to discuss, will be the advanced commands, and we'll talk about like what are the special cases when we do need these advanced commands. But the main commands are the command which we are using very frequently and to perform the like main task and main purpose of the Terraform. Like I wanted to deploy the resources, so I'll have to use the Terraform apply command. I'll have to see the plan. I have to review the changes which is going to be applied. So I can use the Terraform plan command. If I wanted to destroy the resources, then I'll have to use the Terraform destroy command. So these main commands are like a very frequent useful command, and we are using like most frequently. So let's have a look. In main command, the first command we are going to talk about is the Terraform init command, Terraform initialization command. And we already saw this command while discussing the providers. Then we are going to talk about the Terraform format command or Terraform FMT command. Then we are going to talk about the Terraform validate command, then Terraform plan command. Then we will discuss about the Terraform apply command, and then we will talk about the Terraform destroy command, like what is the purpose of all this command and how to use them. So let's start with the Terraform init command. As we already discussed the Terraform initialization command in our provider topic, that Terraform initialization command is basically initializing our environment, our configuration file, and downloading the provider, whatever the provider we are mentioning into the provider or the main.tf file. So let's have a look how it works. So for the Terraform init command, we have to define the provider, which we already did in the provider.tf file. And in our last section also, we saw how it works. Here, if you see, there is a resource block called Azure RM resource group, and the name of the resource block is the RG1. And the resource group will be created. The name of that resource group will be the resource group 1, and the location will be the West Europe. So the very first thing what I would have to do is to initialize the Terraform before running any other command. First, I'll have to do the initialization so it can download all the required providers, all the required stuff which Terraform needs to deploy the resources, like do the authentication and everything. So here we are going to see how the Terraform initialization command is work. So once you are done with like writing the Terraform configuration file and your code, you can just simply go to the terminal and run the Terraform init command. And based on the command, you can see it is the Terraform init action we do have is initializing the provider plugin, and it is downloading and installing the Azure RM provider, which we have mentioned into the Terraform provider.tf file. And on the left side, if you can see, there is a Terraform init files, which we already discussed in our last section, that there is a Terraform log.scl file going to be downloaded when we are running the Terraform init command, which does have the hash value of the provider, just to make sure like it is secure and the correct provider has been downloaded. And then there is a directory called .terraform where we do have the provider, whatever the provider we are using. So basically this Terraform initialization command is downloading the provider, initializing your environment. Okay. The next command which we are going to talk about is the Terraform FMT command. Technically it doesn't have any impact, but if you want a formatted code, a beautiful code, then you can use the Terraform format command to beautify your code. So let's have a look how it works and what is the purpose of this command. It doesn't have any technical impact, like it doesn't impact anything on the resources or anything. So let's have a look how Terraform FMT command works. Let's assume we have the same code again, but this time it is not formatted. It's an unformatted code. You can see like the indentation between the name and location is not correct. If you can see on the line number 1 next to the RG1, there is no space between the curly braces and the RG1. So generally, we can use the same code. It doesn't have an impact because it's not a YAML or it's not a JSON format. It's a HashiCorp coding language, and it does support like this kind of indentation. So generally, we don't need it. But if you want your code to be beautified, because currently it's just like 4 lines and you might not need it. But when you are writing a number of lines of code, then that time you might need to beautify it so it will be easy to read, and the person like who is going to review your code, it will be easy for him as well to like see which curly braces is the first one, and then underneath of that block, if we do have any sub block and the indentation and everything, it will be more beautiful, like in terms of looking. So we can use the Terraform format command to beautify it, and we don't have to manually do it. So if you see how we run this command, similarly we can see we can run the Terraform format command from the terminal, and if you see the difference now, it is in a more formatted way, right? So we run this command and it will show you as an output which file was formatted. Okay, and if you wanted to have a look again, then this one is the formatted one, and if you see, this is the unformatted code. And when we run the Terraform format, then it is getting sorted, like it is getting beautified. So this is the only purpose of the Terraform format command. I personally use it more frequently because I like my code to be more good looking. Okay, so yeah, that's all about the Terraform format command. Now we are going to talk about the next command, that is the Terraform validate command. Terraform validate command is just validating the Terraform syntax. It doesn't have any relation with the provider or the values you are providing into the resource block or anything. You can provide, like in the location you might provide the XYZ. It is not going to validate that XYZ is not a correct location. But if you're not opening or closing the curly braces, if you're not using the inverted comma properly, if you're not using the equal to sign while assigning the value in argument, then it will show an error that this syntax is not correct based on the HashiCorp coding language. So Terraform validate basically check the syntax of the Terraform and confirm like if everything works fine or not. So let's have a look how it works. So we'll take the same example again. We do have this as a resource group and everything. The code looks good. To me, it is fine. There is no issue. So let's run the Terraform validate command to make sure the code is correct. And if we run the Terraform validate command, we can see success, the configuration is valid. If it is not valid, if there is some syntax issue, then we can get the error based on that. So this is what the Terraform validate command do. Generally, when we are configuring or when we are writing the CI/CD pipeline where we are using the Terraform commands, before the plan, we are generally using the Terraform validates just to make sure the syntax or the code which we have written into the Terraform, it's correct and the syntax of that code is correct. And once the validation is correct, then it will go to the Terraform plan and do the next step. Okay, so that's all about the Terraform validate command. Let's talk about the next command, that is Terraform plan. This is one of the most important command in Terraform, and Terraform plan is also like one of the most important benefit of the Terraform. What Terraform plan command is doing is we can get the output with the help of this command, like what changes are going to be applied before applying it. So it's kind of a dry run. You can see what changes are going to be deployed, what resources are going to be created, what resources are going to be destroyed, what resources are going to be updated. So with the Terraform plan command, we can see all the changes going to be happen on your actual environment. So it is basically detecting the last apply changes and show you what changes you have made into your code, and then you can see like what it is going to be impact on your actual resources. So Terraform plan command is basically taking a reference of the Terraform state file and check the actual environment, like actual deployment, like on your actual resources in your Azure, and compare the state file with your actual resources and your new Terraform configuration file. If everything is in sync, then it will show you no changes are going to be happen. And if it is not, like maybe you have changed the virtual machine size, you have added a new virtual machine disk or something like that, then it will show you like this disk are going to be added into your virtual machine or something like that. So let's have a look how we are running the Terraform plan command and how the output looks like for Terraform plan command. So we'll take the same example again, like creating a resource group using the Terraform configuration file, and we'll run let's assume we already executed the Terraform init command, because before running the Terraform plan, we have to execute the Terraform init so it can download all the provider and everything and make sure the authentication has been done to the Azure. So we can run the Terraform plan command and it will show you like what will be the impact when we are running the Terraform apply command. So when we are running the Terraform plan command, you can see the impact of the command or the action going to be applied would be the create with the plus sign. That means this resource group was not created yet. Okay, and we didn't run any Terraform apply command yet. That means the resources still has to be created. Okay, so we can see there is a resource group is going to be created, and we can see the detailed plan of that particular resource. So we see there is a resource group called resource group 1 going to be created in the location West Europe, which we have configured in our configuration file. In the plan side, you can see there is a one resource to be added. There is no change, there is no destroy. because we didn't make any changes yet. We are not modifying the code. We are not destroying the code. What we are doing right now is we are creating a new resources. That's why it is showing us one resource to be added. So with the Terraform plan command, we can see this detailed plan, what is going to be apply when we are running the Terraform apply command. Okay, if there are some modification, then there will be one to change or two to change or whatever the changes you are going to do. If there are some resources are going to be destroyed, like I have written this code, I have applied it, the resource is created, now I have removed this code, so in the next apply, that resource is going to be destroyed because the code is not there anymore. So it will show you one resource to destroy. So it always a good practice to do the Terraform plan and carefully review it before applying the Terraform apply command. Okay, I'm sure you guys already saw those memes about like Terraform apply, and you are not reviewing the plan and just applying directly with the auto approve option, and it is just like destroying a lot of resources. So it's not a good practice to do the apply directly. First do the plan, review it, and then only apply it. So even in the pipeline also, first we do the Terraform validate. Of course, first we do the Terraform init and then validate and then plan. And we review the output of the pipeline, of the plan pipeline, and then only we are triggering the Terraform apply pipeline. Just to make sure like whatever the changes we are going to make, those are the changes going to be applied, not what we don't want, or there might be some mistake in the code which you don't want to apply. So you can always review in the plan and then only you can approve and apply the changes with the help of the Terraform apply command. So that's all about the Terraform plan command. It's one of the most important command, and I would recommend always use the Terraform plan command before doing the Terraform apply or Terraform destroy or whatever. Okay, so that's all about the Terraform plan command. The next command which we are going to talk about is the Terraform apply command. So again, Terraform apply is the main part of the Terraform, because this is the only command which is going to actually making the impact on your resources or your Azure portal or your Azure resources. Because you can do the init validate plan, but those changes are not applied yet. Those resources are not created yet. To create them, to actually execute your Terraform configuration file into your Terraform code, you have to do the Terraform apply command. So let's have a look how we can write the Terraform apply command. We'll take the same example again. We did the Terraform init in our last in our previous command section. We did the Terraform validate and plan. So far we have everything. Everything looks good, and we even did the Terraform plan, and we could see the one resource is going to be created. Now let's have a look to the Terraform apply command. Similarly, with the Terraform apply command also, you will get the review option. Okay, so even though if you are not using the Terraform plan command, with the Terraform apply also you can see the detailed action plan, what is going to happen. But in case of our pipeline, we are generally not using the Terraform apply command, but we are using Terraform apply command with the flag that is auto approve. And why we are doing it? Because if you can see, when we are running the Terraform apply command, it is always asking enter value and asking for the confirmation. So it is always keep waiting unless I put this yes and confirmation, it will not go further. It will not deploy the resources. So when we are doing it manually, we are using the Terraform apply command, and it's a good practice to just use the Terraform apply command, not with the auto approve flag, which we are going to talk about next time in the next section. But Terraform apply command is what we are using when we are doing the manual changes or manually apply. But when we are running the pipeline, that pipeline will be the automatically, right? We can't wait for the confirmation because there will be nobody who can confirm it. It will be running on the host agent of your pipeline. So nobody can log in into that system and do the yes. And if we, even though if we can do, we are not going to do it because it's a CI/CD pipeline, and we are expecting it should be automatically deploy all the resources. You should not wait for our confirmation. We are going to put some confirmation even in the pipeline as well, but where after the plan, so we can see everything is good, and then we do the approve, and then the Terraform apply will be automatically apply. It will not wait for the confirmation again because we already reviewed the code. So that is something we are going to do into the pipeline. But when we are manually applying or manually executing the code, we'll have to use the Terraform apply command only. We do the review again. So even though if you are not doing the Terraform plan, you can see the Terraform apply will again show you the same thing, and you can review it. And if everything looks good to you, then you can do the yes and do the confirmation. If not, then you can maybe type no and hit enter. So if you can see now, when we hit the yes and did the enter, then the confirmation is done. And if you can see on the line, the resource group is creating, and then the creation completion completed after 4 seconds. And you can see the ID of that particular resource group with the subscription ID, resource group, and everything. So this is how the Terraform apply command is working. And if you can see the complete summary of that Terraform apply command, it's a one apply complete, one resource has been added. Or on the left side, if you can see, there is a terraform.tf state file has been created. So this is the state file which we are going to talk about in a more detailed way when we are going to discuss about the state files. But this is the state file which is getting created when you are doing the Terraform apply, and this state file has all the information about this resource, and it does have the link between the resource, this configuration Terraform configuration file, the actual resource, and the state file. So it's like kind of a soul between your configuration file, this configuration file, and the actual resources what has been created through this Terraform configuration file. So that's all about the Terraform apply. We are going to see this command a lot more when we are going further. But for now, you can see we can use the Terraform apply command to deploy the resources, to actually deploy the resources. And if you go to the portal, you can see that one resource group called resource under score group one has been created in the West Europe location. So that's all about the Terraform apply command. Now we are going to talk about the next command. The next command is the Terraform destroy command. It opposite to the Terraform apply command, I would say. It's basically like, let's assume I have deployed a temporary sandbox environment through the Terraform configuration files. I have deployed like maybe 20, 40 resources, and now I just wanted to clean up that environment. So this command is something very dangerous command, I would say. So whenever you are using this Terraform destroy command, be more careful. Okay, it should be used with more careful way, because it will destroy or it will delete all of your resources, whatever the resources you have in your configuration file, whatever we have applied or we have deployed so far. We can run the Terraform destroy. It will again ask for the confirmation, same as Terraform apply, and it will destroy everything, whatever you have deployed that through that Terraform configuration file. This is something we are hardly using, and we are using only when we are working with the sandbox or the development environment, and we want to clean up the environment. That time only we are using this kind of a command, and this kind of a command I personally wouldn't recommend to use with the pipeline. Maybe use it in a more careful way, manually, and with 4i principle, I would suggest. So let's have a look how the Terraform destroy command works. In our last section, we saw like Terraform apply command has deployed the resources or resource group. We can see the Terraform state file is there, and the resource group was already deployed. So now let's run the Terraform destroy command. And if you can see, the Terraform destroy command is also showing the resource section and the detailed plan. And now we can see it is destroying. It is destroying that resource. Destroying means it is deleting that particular resource, or it will delete the resource as soon as I do the confirmation. Okay, same as Terraform apply. Destroy command is also waiting for the confirmation. If I type the yes and hit the enter, that means it is confirmed, and then this command will destroy the resource group. So whatever the resources we have deployed so far through the Terraform configuration, this Terraform destroy command will destroy it. So let's have a look. I did the confirmation, and you can see there is one resource group has been destroyed. And you can see the summary, you can see the ID of that resource, the subscription ID, resource group, and the resource group name is still destroying, and in 16 seconds it was destroyed. Okay, so with the help of the Terraform destroy command, we can destroy the resources, but this is something I would recommend to use very carefully. Okay, because this command will destroy each and everything. So unless you have the sandbox environment, don't use this command. And whenever you are using it like in a more careful way. Make sure you have like you're using the 4i principle. You have someone sitting aside you, and he's validating like what you're running, or this command is running on a code which you want, and not the code which you don't want. Like you're running this command on the production environment. So that should not happen. So it should always use in a more careful way and very careful way. Okay, so that's all about the Terraform main commands. We are going to talk about the Terraform advanced commands in our last topic, but so far these commands are enough to go further, and you can do the practice with all these commands like apply, destroy, validate, init, and the format. So I would suggest and I would recommend, and as I have mentioned before, in one of the prerequisites of Terraform, do the practice, more practice and the more practice if you want to learn the Terraform and learn in like in a good way, in a better way, like you understand each and everything. So the more practice you do, you understand it more. So those are the commands which we are going to use throughout the course. And I would recommend to use this command to do the practice. And that's all about the main commands. Okay. The next thing which we are going to talk about is the lab. We'll see the practical way how the main command works, and we'll see how we are using it. I think we already covered it in our presentation, like how these commands are work, but let's have a look in a more lab way or practical way how the main commands are working and how we can use it. Hi. So in this practical, we are going to talk about the Terraform main commands. I already explained why we are calling it main commands and what is the purpose of the main commands. So let me show you in a practical way how the Terraform main commands works. We already saw it in the animation and the slides, like how those commands are working, but I thought to like explain it in a practical way so you'll get more understanding like how the Terraform main commands are working. So I do have this Terraform code. This code is basically the same code which we used in the Why Terraform in the previous session, but I made some changes so it will be more clear to explain the main commands after using and what would be the impact on this code. So this code is basically for the Azure again, and we do have a resource block to create the resource group, and then we do have the resource block for the Azure virtual network itself. Don't get into the code itself. We are gonna talk about the code in a more precise way. I'm gonna discuss and I'm gonna show you and explain everything why we are writing the code in this way, why we are using the line number in the line number 15, the Azure RM resource group .rg.location, what is the purpose of that, why we are writing the code in this format. So we are going to talk about all of this, but before we are going to talk about this, I thought to like explain the main commands first. So when we are using the resource block or when we are talking about the resource block, so you can execute the command and see the purpose of the resource block and everything. So don't get confused about the code. We are going to discuss about it. Just focus on the main commands and the impact of those commands on the Terraform code and what those commands are doing and what is the purpose of those commands. So let me start with the first command, that is the Terraform initialization. We already talked about it in the previous session that Terraform initialization is basically downloading and fetching the Terraform provider, whatever the provider we do have in our code. So we do have the same Azure RM, so it will basically download and install the Terraform provider for the Azure RM. And we already talked about it. It will download a .terraform. It will create a .terraform folder, and then there will be a file log.scl where we do have all the information of the provider, the hash value and the version of the provider. So that is what the Terraform initialization command is doing to initialize your code. Before initializing or without initializing, you will not be able to run any further command. So the first thing you have to do is the Terraform initialization, Terraform init. Then if you can see on the code, there are some unformatting, like there are some values are here where we do have some blank space, then the code is not in the format, it's not looking good, and it will be hard to read. So to beautify this code, what we could do is we can run the Terraform format command, Terraform FMT command, which will basically beautify your code and it will put everything in a line so it will be more easy to understand. So this particular command doesn't have any technical impact, but to beautify your code, so you don't have to spend time on like putting the code in a format. You can just type your code and then you run the Terraform format command and it will format the code for you. So you don't have to spend the time like putting the spaces, tabs and everything. So that is the purpose of the Terraform format command. Then we do have the Terraform validate command, which will basically validate the syntax of your Terraform. So looking at the screen, you might not be, as of now, you might not be able to find what is the syntax error I do have in this code. But when you are running the Terraform validate command, you will be able to see it. So let me run the Terraform validate command. And by running this command, I can see there is an invalid reference. And I can see on line number 14 in main.tf file, the name of the virtual network. Generally in Terraform, everything which is a string or the name which we have to provide, they should be in a double quote. Like you can see the subnet one, we didn't get any complaint about the subnet one because they are in a double quote. But for the my virtual network, I don't have the code. So I just put the code, save my file and run the Terraform validate command again. Okay, perfect. So after putting the code, the validation is success and the configuration is valid. So this command is basically validating the syntax of the Terraform. It is not validating anything on the Azure. It is not validating anything on the state file. It is not validating anything except the syntax of the Terraform. So if your syntax is not correct, if you are missing this double quote, or if you're missing or you're replacing the curly braces with the square braces or something like that, then you can run the Terraform validate command. So it will point you out like where the error is in the syntax. So the next command is, I just clean my screen or terminal and then I run the next command, that is the Terraform plan, one of the most important command. This is, as I have already explained, this command is basically showing you what would be the impact of this Terraform code, what this code is gonna do. So let me run the Terraform plan command. To me, I have two resource group and the virtual network. So it should create one resource group and one virtual network. So let's run the Terraform plan command and then let's have a look. I'll just pull this window a little bit up so we can see the Terraform plan output over here. Okay, so the command is successfully executed and now I can see in the plan there are two resources to be added and I can see all the details of the resources. So there will be one resource group which is going to create. The ID of the resource group will be known after apply. The name of the resource group will be the Y Terraform, which we already have here, and the location will be the West Europe. Similarly, for the virtual network, I do have the virtual network, the address space of the virtual network, and on top of that virtual network, I'm also gonna get this subnet because I do have the sub resource block for the subnet. So basically the Terraform plan will show me there are two resources are going to be added in your Azure subscription with the help of this Terraform code execution. So with the Terraform plan command, we can see before applying the Terraform code or before actually executing the code, we can see the plan. We can see what would be the impact of this code. So if it is addition, then we can see the addition. If it is change, if there is any upgrade, then it will be upgrade. If there is any destroy or any resource is going to be destroyed, then you can check the destroy. So you can carefully validate and you can run the Terraform apply command only after you validate all the changes which are gonna happen. Okay, so that's all about the Terraform plan command. Now let's have a look to the Terraform apply command. So Terraform apply command which is basically applying the actual execution of your code, which will basically going to add the resources in your environment or in your subscription. So Terraform apply command is also showing the plan. Okay, so two resources are going to be added and it is waiting for my confirmation. I'll just hit the yes and hit enter. Meanwhile, when the Terraform apply is running, let's have a look to our Azure portal. So on the right side, I do have my Azure portal open and the resource group creation is started. So let's allow it a minute and then we'll have a look. Meanwhile, I'll just refresh it. The name of the resource group should be the Y Terraform. Okay, and it seems it is completed. Two resources has been added. One is resource group and the virtual network. Let me refresh my window. Okay, I can see the resource group here. So the Y Terraform resource group is there. And if I go to the resource group list, I don't see the virtual network yet. So let me just refresh it. Okay, the virtual network is also there. Let me open the virtual network. The name of the virtual network is correct. The resource group and the location is correct. Let me check the address space. Yeah, that is also correct. Let me go to the subnet and see. So the subnet is also there, the subnet which I have provided. So with the help of the Terraform apply command, I have created two resources, resource group and the virtual network underneath of that resource group. So with the help of this Terraform apply command, we can deploy the resources. We can actually execute the code and we can actually deploy the resources in the Azure portal in your subscription. So that is the purpose of the Terraform apply command. The last command which we do have is the Terraform destroy. Generally, we don't use this command very often because it will deploy or it will destroy all the resources of your environment. So let's have a go. I'll run the Terraform destroy and we'll see what would be the impact of the Terraform destroy command. Okay, it is reading the state file now to get the information from the Azure portal as well as from the state file itself. So first it will read the code and then it will check on the Azure portal itself if the resources are still available or not. And now I can see there are two resources are going to be destroyed, the same resources which we have, the virtual network and the resource group. So let me run this command and at the same time I'll check on my portal. Okay, the virtual network destroy is started, and as I have mentioned before that it will follow the sequence. It will first deploy the resource group and then deploy the virtual network, and at the time of the destroy it will first destroy the VNet and then the resource group. And we are going to talk about this dependencies and all in our next session once we have discussed about we are going to discuss about the resource block itself. Okay, so the destruction is completed for the virtual network. I'll just go and here and refresh it. The virtual network is gone. Now I go to the resource group and then I'll refresh the resource group and there is no more resource group available in my Azure subscription. So the destroy is completed. So with the help of this destroy command, we can destroy the resources. Generally, we don't do this, but let's assume you have a development environment or the test environment, which you are deploying just for the testing purpose. And once you are done, then you can run the Terraform destroy command to completely destroy it. So these are the main commands which you are gonna use on a daily basis whenever you are working on a Terraform. So you can use this command either manually or you can do the use this command with the pipeline and other way of deploying the resources. So that's all about the Terraform main commands. Hope you are clear with the purpose of these commands. And if you have any question, then just put a question in the comment and I'll try my best to answer it as soon as possible. Thank you. See you in the next one.